Welcome to another week-long episode. Well, not week-long episode, but a week of quality quarantine videos. And so we really hope that you had a good Easter. I know that this is probably one of the most different Easters you've had in a long time since you couldn't really be with family. You couldn't get together in churches. And I don't know. I hope that we've inspired you a little bit to creativity of ways that you can worship God, be together, do things as a group, and still, have that's 6 feet apart, still obeying the government, I guess, in what we're supposed to do. So today, our Movie Monday, we're going to talk about a movie that, raise your hand if you had to go and watch this because you hadn't seen it yet. So it was probably Lindsay's original idea. And then we all had to go watch it. We watched the movie it's just A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which is, how would you describe it, Lindsay? It's not a documentary. It's not just a regular movie. Was it?
Right. So Tom Hanks portrays Fred Rogers, and he does a lovely job as Tom Hanks does. And he portrays this one snippet of not Fred Rogers' life, but another man's life who is writing about Fred Rogers.
Which is actually a true story. Yeah. The guy's name in it isn't the same. So yeah, that's right. You've got a man that he's kind of like a hardened investigative journalist who's kind of known for exposés on people. And he is assigned to write this little blurb on Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, in case you don't know. Fred Rogers, I think sometimes of Fred Rogers, he was also there was another generation of Fred Rogers that was a dancer, right? Like Fred and Ginger Astaire.
Oh,
wait, no, that was Fred Astaire.
Fred
okay,
Astaire.
Never mind. Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. Okay, sorry, Fred Rogers. Yeah, their love child. But
as a couple, they're called Fred Rogers.
Oh goodness. Anyway, I just derailed us. Yeah, so it's depicting Mr. Rogers, and so the movie, as we all watched, we realized might not be the best for younger kids because it does depict the man whose kind of life that he changes through this, who's having to write this article, who's just basically convinced that humanity is not basically good because he had a really abusive upbringing and his mother died when he was young. So it's like he really doesn't have a good outlook on humanity at all, and he brings that to every article he writes. And so he's challenged when he meets Fred Rogers that this truly, I mean, we can't say truly good, not in the biblical sense that every one of us has fallen, there's none who is righteous, not even one, but someone who has really attempted to take the model of Jesus and to be kind and to be purposeful with every single person that comes across his path. So we wanted to, for each of us, to talk about what we really took away from the movie. And so I think, Lindsay, we'll start with you because that was your idea.
I like what you said just now about his goodness. He is, and he was a good man, but he admitted readily that he struggled with anger, for example. And he had to be intentional about not getting angry with his own children and his own wife. So, but he was married for 50 years and, his kids, by all accounts, still loved him. And that is the hope in the end.
It can happen.
But yeah, the thing that stuck out for me about Fred Rogers that I really remember as a kid was that he would talk about tough issues. So many of us might remember that after 9/11, he did address the nation in the anniversary of 9/11, the first one, and he recorded, I think, 4 different recordings to encourage the nation. And he did that regularly in different decades. He addressed tough situations like the Challenger explosion. He helped kids kind of deal with that. Many of them, that was the first time they saw somebody die in real time. And he was willing to go there with kids. And I think that's a solid example for us as parents, especially now. We are living in a pandemic. And how do we address that with our kids? Do we just gloss over it and hope that they get it? Or do we say, this is a really tough time. How are you doing?
Do we distract them from it and try to attract their attention to something else? Or do we actually deal with the actual difficult position that we're in?
And that's so hard. There's a fine line because we don't want to scare them. But at the same time, they're wondering whether or not we're addressing it with them. They're thinking, why am I not in school? Why can't I see my friends? And they're experiencing this really hard situation where they can't spend time with their friends. And they may not be telling you, I miss my friends, but they do. And so Fred Rogers was really good about connecting with kids in difficult times. And we can learn something from that experience and really go there with our kids and not be afraid to do so.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Or sorry, go, you look like you're about to say something, maybe.
No, I was saying, yeah, no, that was so neat. And this one thing that I didn't actually grow up watching him. So it was really interesting watching the movie because I knew of him, but I had never watched any of his shows. And what struck me is, you know, Lindsay, you mentioned how he was talking all of these hard subjects with kids. And what really struck me about the movie is how much he valued human dignity. And you see that in this movie. I actually binge watched the documentary, I think it's on Netflix, about him that they made in 2018 right after it. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to know more about this guy.
It's on Netflix?
And that one, yeah, it was so good. But that one actually dives a little more deeply into the character of him. And that's one thing is the whole reason he went on and did this show is because he was watching children's television. And he was like, this is mindless, goofy stuff. You know, this could actually be a way for us to make an impact in children's lives. And so he really wanted to focus on the dignity, the human dignity that there is. And that's one of the scenes in the Tom Hanks movie that really struck me was the subway scene. Is he's sitting on the subway with Lloyd as he's talking to him, and these kids recognize him and they start singing "A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood" to him, and the subway car, everybody kind of joins in, and like I'm not really a feeling a person, but I was like sobbing in there because what it was. It was he valued human dignity so much that he gave people exactly what they needed, and it was that need to be wanted, and that's what the show was about. Is his motivation for looking at the camera and everything was he would visualize a child and speak directly to that child, and he wanted them to know that they were loved and wanted, and that's why he always said, "I love you just the way you are," and he wasn't meaning it like in sort of the today sense, like you don't have to change everything about you's wonderful, that sort of thing.
Like you just the way you are.
Yeah, I like you.
Kids hear "I love you" from their parents, but they don't necessarily always hear "I like you."
Yeah.
And that's something I struggled with growing up, is knowing I know God loves me, but does God like me?
Yeah. And that was one thing that I really liked at the end of the documentary is he's giving this commencement speech, and some people, the news had kind of thrown him under the bus by saying, oh, well, Fred Rogers is the reason why all these kids are entitled, because he says, oh, they're perfect the way they are. And what he was meaning is, no, you are endowed with dignity and worth from your creator. You don't have to do anything to earn that. And that was his purpose. And that's what really struck me about that scene and the movie was just that he saw you for who you are. And it just, gave me all the feels.
Love it.
Yeah, that was one of the things that stood out to me too. And one of the ways that he did this that really just struck me throughout the movie was his pace in everything. You know, like we're so used to like movies, you know, like they open with like this big dramatic scene, like a lot of times it's action right away. And like this movie opens up and it's like very slow. It's like the opening to his theme song. And then, you know, like he just looks at the camera and he explains something, you know, slowly and quietly. And that just reminded me so much of what we see in the Gospels, that, you know, Jesus came to seek and to save the lost, and he was never in a hurry. You know, he did what he knew that he was called to do. Like even just the example of, you know, when he was about to go heal Jairus's daughter, you know, like this woman comes and touches him and he stops everybody. And it's just like, who touched me? You know, and he took time out of, he knew he was going to go save this girl, but he took time to actually just like look at that woman and see her and touch her. And that's, you know, that's just what we see in this movie, this slow pace. And I think it's so good for us because we're normally going at like the speed of light, you know, through life. And like right now, a lot of things have been put on hold and we have this opportunity to actually take a step back and, you know, like reevaluate things and really see our kids, you know, and everybody around us just for who they are. And so what a great, you know, what a great opportunity this has. And I think we had talked about recommending that, you know, if you have littler guys, you know, who this movie might not be appropriate to show, you know, there's nothing inappropriate, but it just hits on some deeper topics. But Mr. Rogers is actually available on Amazon Prime for free, you know, so we can take a step back and like show our kids some of these and have them the opportunity, you know, for them to actually see like, oh, wow, you know, here's somebody that like reflects Jesus and cares about me and likes me just the way I am. So
I will say that because of the pace, it can be hard for our kids to sit through it because they're so used to a faster pace.
Yeah.
Even Daniel Tiger, which is made after Fred Rogers, is at a faster pace. So I would say like just bear with your kids if they can only
Mhm.
sit through one episode, don't make them binge watch an entire
Yeah.
season because they might not like you very much.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I love
Really,
that.
we have to retrain their minds to
Mhm.
be able
Yeah.
to be okay with
Mhm.
that pace.
Yeah.
And one of the
Right.
things about moving at the slower pace that kind of brings a lot of the things in, and I'll say the thing that I kind of got from the movie, is this idea of intentionally treating people with the human dignity that the Lord has given us means that we have to slow down and remember, oh yeah, the person I'm
Mhm.
talking to is someone made in the image of God. And
Yeah.
you kind of need that. Like, I know about myself that when I start moving faster, I get like these blinders on and I get very task oriented in whatever task I'm doing. And I stop really noticing people's reactions around me. And
Mhm.
so I have to purposefully know when I'm moving really fast, I need to stop, okay, and move slower. And one of the things that I like that he did in this movie that it kind of showed, they didn't, none of these things did they really make a big deal about, but it showed him, he faithfully, like, I think for like 40 years, he swam every morning, probably unless he was sick. He ate well, and he had a specific bedtime that I get to bed at this time and I get up at this time. And there were certain things that he did to take care of himself that I think actually fostered both his ability to move at that slower pace. It probably fostered the emotional energy, like Lindsay talked, to process some of the bigger things that were going on and then put them in language that a child could understand. And then just in his personal life, these ways that he safeguarded his own health made it to where every single person he encountered, he treated as being made in the image of God. And so I think sometimes we can forget that we need to physically take care of ourselves in order to kind of display these attributes and to take care of other people. And that's something that I thought was kind of convicting, that, you know, I let my schedule just get out of control, or I let myself get so busy with stuff that I don't see people. And that intentionality, I think, is what we would like you to take away from it. And there's like so many conversations you can have with that. And I think Lindsay's going to find some episodes of Mr. Rogers that'll go with every day of the week this week for our quarantine series, Quality Quarantine. Just like say, hey, here's one of the episodes of Mr. Rogers that might be helpful. So anyway, we hope that you get a chance. You can see It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood on Amazon Prime. There is, was it Netflix, Amy, that you said that the docu thing was made on, that you can watch that?
Yep.
And then I think also on Amazon Prime, was it Amazon Prime that had the episodes of?
Yeah, they have them for free, Mr. Rogers seasons.
They've got them for free on there. And you would be surprised at just how smart he was with being able to speak to children. So I think we could all learn. I think we could all learn from watching Mr. Rogers again.
So true.
So, but that's what we got for our Monday movie. So join us tomorrow for Tuesday training, where we're going to talk about letter writing. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.